Did you know that you can marry someone without needing to succeed a single skill check? Did you also know that you don't need to visit a town to find out the local prices? Find out the answers to these questions and much, much more in this video. How's it going, everybody? I hope you're having a wonderful day. Welcome to another top 10 things you probably didn't know video. We're going to touch on a very convenient way to sort your troops and so many more interesting things. And we're going to start out with one of the most interesting ones here, actually. And this is how you can marry someone even with low charm skill and no luck with them conversational skill checks. All you need to do is speak to the leader of the clan. There's something I'd like to discuss. I would like to propose an alliance between our families through marriage. My own hand. Sylvind. Oh, Sylvind is a very good bride. Very good. And there we go. We can marry Sylvind just like that. How much easier is that? You can just do this. You can just bribe your way into marriage. I'm not actually going to marry just yet because we have a top 10 eligible brides of Calradia coming up in the coming weeks on this channel. So we're actually going to reject that marriage offer, but it is easy as that. Now, should we get on to tip number 2? The next couple of tips are going to be based around combat, so I'm going to ransack this poor helpless caravan here. Firstly, I'll come back to this tip at the end of the fight, but check the top right hand corner, have a look at the death text that comes up. You might notice something that not many of you know about, and I will show you how to do that if you do enjoy it at the end of the fight. Now, straight off the bat, I'm so glad that it slows time by 25% now, so that I can talk you through this in real time. Select your archers and put them in advanced mode. People usually stay away from advanced because it's a little bit ambiguous what it actually does. Think of advanced like a cross between charge and skirmish. They will get within range of the enemy and then they will consistently move back to keep a certain amount of distance away from them. Once the battle has been engaged and your melee troops are in the front line in the shield wall, etc., you're going around the back with your cavalry, you always want your archers in advance so that they can skirmish. It's absolutely fantastic. So firstly, we're going to sort all the other troops out, then we're going to send the archers in on advance. And the second tip is you don't want to do the same thing with horse archers despite the fact that they are also ranged. Advance sometimes messes up with them a bit. Actually, for horse archers, they are best in charge, and I'll show you why now. So, what your horse archers will do when they're in charge mode is they will actually continuously circle the enemy. And once they run out of arrows, they will then naturally pull out their melee weapons and charge in one by one. So, once you've engaged in the main bulk of combat, and obviously you're not doing hit and run guerrilla tactics, you haven't got them following you, whereas you want your archers on advance so that they skirmish, you want horse archers on charge so that they continuously loop around the enemy like sharks. That is their equivalent of skirmish. Charge works differently for horse archers, and it makes them so damn effective. So now with them two tactics in play, let's watch us just obliterate the enemies in this fight. I've pulled out my infantry and my cavalry, so we hopefully don't suffer too many losses, and the archers and the horse archers just go to town on them. Infantry, forward! Gonna pull the infantry away completely and do some cycle charges with the cav. And now that they're weak enough, we'll just send everyone in to charge. There we are. We suffered 3 wounded, 0 casualties. And now if you did enjoy the very simplistic battle report at the top right of the screen, it is simply an option that you can toggle off. You go into gameplay, and in report casualties, you want only icons, only in SP. This is what it defaults to when you see everyone's names. Someone in my Twitch chat did say, oh, I like that kind of, but I also would like to know if any of my party, any of my companions, or any of the lords go down. Good news is, it still reports kills and deaths from named units. So companions, family members, parties, lords, it's only all the other units that it switches off. So honestly, this makes makes your screen so crisp and so clear. That is tip number 4 for you. Strongly suggest running the game like this. Tip number 5 is to do with caravans. For your caravans, when picking your companions, most people here probably pick either Swift or I believe it's Spice Vendor. They are great. They do start making you some good money. However, for late game, you really seriously want to value riding and scouting over trade skill. There are many reasons for this, and I'll talk you through the main ones now. So, the companion that I currently have in a caravan is Geraint Horse Thief, and he has got riding and scouting skill. A few reasons that you want to prefer these over trade is his survivability and his speed. Once a companion has been assigned as a caravan, it's very easy, very quick for them to increase the trade skill. However, as we all probably know, by the time you get late game, all your caravans are getting captured and killed, even by common parties of sea raiders, forest bandits, etc, etc. And that is because they're not quick enough, nor are they able to see far enough to avoid enemy parties. It's all well and good them having 200 trade and making really profitable trades, but if they're gonna die constantly and not give you all that money, then what's the point? Always focus on companions that favour riding and scouting in their starting stats, and they can build up the trade skill themselves. I have another playthrough that we're actually currently doing over on Twitch, and my riding scouting companion is making me 3 or 4 times more money a day than my trade focused caravan. The next tip for you is with your troop management. Obviously for your inventory, you have these sort features. They're pretty good. You don't really have anything like that for your troops. However, I have a very quick, very easy way to make everything wonderful for you, and it is this. Remove, re-add. Simple as that. All of your companions come to the top and everyone else is arranged in tier order. You might be saying, oh, that's not great. I wanted them ordered by faction or ordered by troop type, maybe. It would be amazing to have a sort or a filter option up here somewhere, but for now, just remove them and re-add them, and they are now sorted in tier. This makes troop management so much easier, and it is the simplest thing to be able to do. And you can do the exact same thing with prisoners. Ooh, what's more than that? I've actually just had a thought. When you start to own fiefs, castles, towns, etc., if you have more troops than what your party capacity will allow, add them all in over here. So say I've currently got 200 troops over here and I can only have 66. As soon as you hit this transfer troops button, it will automatically only transfer up to what I can allow, and it will give you the highest tier troops. Sometimes, obviously, you don't want to do that. You might want to get rid of some of your high tier melee troops and add in a few more cav. But for the most part, if you just want a really solid army and you don't want to have to faff around with, oh, I want to get rid of that person, but then I want to add that one there, that takes ages. Just get rid of them all. So you've got 200 troops in here, re-add them. It will take you up to your max and it will give you your most skilled, most qualified troops. My next tip for you is actually make your character as small as physically possible. If you've already got a playthrough going, you can just press V and you can change how your character looks at any point during the game. The hitbox actually is affected by the size of your character. If you are minuscule, you are going to dodge way more attacks. And also, when you're on horseback, it's easier to aim your melee weapons. If you're too big, especially swords can arc over enemies. So if you want to be efficient with your character, be really, really tiny. Next, we have a few tips that will hopefully help you with trade. You don't need to visit a town to find out the local prices. You actually only need to be within the vicinity of that town's influence. Let me talk you through what I mean, and hopefully we can all learn this one together, because this is fantastic. Especially when you're early game, or if you're wanting to be really time efficient, this is brilliant. What I mean, if I go into my inventory now, and I have a look at the price of beer, for instance, it's saying here that if I sold beer here, it's going to sell for 41 dinars per barrel of beer. I am currently in Poros's sphere of influence, so if I was to go to Poros, it would sell for 41. However, if I now go over this bridge, I am now in Vostrom's sphere of influence, so if I check again, beer now only sells for 28. So I know that beer is much more profitable in Poros than it is in Vostrom. Obviously, as you're heading towards Poros, the day is going to change, caravans might turn up, so that price will fluctuate ever so slightly. But let me show you that this works. I'm heading towards Poros now. I'm going to check. Beer apparently will now sell for 42. It's actually gone up in value. I'm going to keep heading to Poros. I'll check once more as we get halfway there. Beer, 41. It's gone back down to the regular price again. And we hop in. And sure enough, beer is selling for 41. It will show you the local price for that town, even if you're a mile away from it, as long as you are within the influence of that town. Now, obviously, at this moment in time, I'm not sure exactly where towns' spheres of influence start and end, but you can make a pretty good guess, and it really helps with being more time efficient with your movement. As you're running past Jalmaris here, towards Amitatis, you can just stop around here, pop open your inventory to see if it's worth making a detour to sell anything. Let me show you. Let me do it right now. So we'll head up here. And again, as I'm running past Zeonica here, now that I'm well within Zeonica's sphere of influence, I can see if anything sells particularly well. And there you go, olives are crazy good here. So we'll pop in. It said they were going to sell for 39, and sure enough, 39. We'll sell a few of them, make a lot of money, and now we'll head towards Amitatis, but on the way, we'll check. When we're in Jalmaris's sphere of influence, we're going to pop it open. And we'll have a look and see. So nothing sells significantly well. Their date fruits are quite good, but we know it's not worth popping in. So we're just going to head over onto Amitatis. Again, see if it's worth it. No, not particularly. So we can move on. How good is that? That's going to save you so much time. Tip number 9. To continue on with the trade theme of these tips, I'm going to talk you through how to get the most trade experience for your items sold. And this is a very, very simple one. It's purely based on the amount of money you make, not the percentage of profit. Let me talk you through this. If I was to buy loads of grain for 7 dinars here and sell it somewhere else for 14 dinars, I'm making 100% profit on that. I am doubling my money. So if I was to buy 500 of them, I've just made a stupid amount of money. However, per item, I've only made 7 dinars. If I was to take that same amount of money and buy a load of Assyrian war horses from down south for 500 dinars, sell them all here for 1200, I would get way more trade experience than for the grain. It doesn't care about the percentage of profit, it cares how much money you made in that transaction. So the long and short of it is you always want to buy and sell the big price items. Obviously, any profitable trade is going to be good. It's all going to make you a bit of trade experience, but for the most part, and this is exactly why my trade guide is perfect, you just want to be transporting around lots of high value horses to get that trade skill up as quickly as possible. Tip number 10 is the 2 best weapons to buy and smelt to help you on your journey with smithing. Obviously, as you'll probably know from my smithing guide, I recommended the Pugio, and it's probably still my favorite recommendation, honestly, because it's so cheap. However, if you want a slightly higher quality of materials, nearly as cheap and certainly in much higher abundance, is the Tribesman throwing daggers. The Pugio will probably only set you back about 200 dinars per piece on average, whereas the daggers are about 400, so they're nearly twice as expensive. However, they do yield 3 iron, which is a very prominent metal when smithing. So I'd say you probably want to start off with these and then transfer onto the daggers once your smithing's a little bit higher. You can get Pugios very easily in pretty much any empire city, and you can get the Tribesman throwing daggers even easier down in Assyria. Now, this final tip is for increasing your scouting as quickly as possible. You want to make sure that you are the scout for your party. And we're basically going to abuse the tracks that show up. When you discover tracks, you will gain a small amount of scouting. And the bigger the army, the more experience you get. So, ideally, you want to be in a big army, and you want an enemy that's also in a big army. You need to be able to outrun them, but you obviously want to make sure they're not going to turn around and attack you. And then using a tip from one of my previous videos, you can do Alt-click to follow them indefinitely, and you will just keep tracking them. Stupid bloody lords are going to ruin my fun and kill them now. Anyway, as I was trying to say, you will just keep following them, and you will just keep tracking them and scouting their tracks constantly. With a small band of looters like this, that's an incredibly poor example. But as I say, later in game, when you have enough influence to make your own army, or just when you're powerful enough to do so, find an enemy lord who's significantly powerful, but not so much that they're going to pose a threat to you, and then just follow them around and just keep finding their tracks. Every single time they drop a track and you find it, you gain scouting experience, and the bigger that party, the better. I know people that have literally followed an army from one side of the map to the other, and by the time they're there, they've increased scouting from 100 to 150. So obviously scouting is still very tedious to level up early game. If you want to do the scouting yourself, I still advise getting a companion to do it for you. But late game, when you're dealing with big armies, just follow someone around and just keep revealing all of their tracks. Your scouting will fly up significantly. I really hope at least one of the tips in this video has helped you. It's been an absolute pleasure and an honor as always. If you enjoy my content and want to support the channel completely for free, please do sub, like the video, comment, hit the bell, do all that stuff people always ask you to do. I really appreciate it. And I hope you have an absolutely amazing day. I'll see you soon. Bye bye.